Blessings of Psalm 91. Daily protection. Prayer for you and family. There are moments in life when fear enters silently, almost unnoticed, and tries to take root in the heart. It can arrive in the quiet of the night, when the house is silent and thoughts echo louder than ever. It can approach in the middle of the day, in the form of sudden worry, news that shakes us, or an invisible pressure that weighs on the chest. But there is a promise that cuts through these shadows with unshakable certainty. The blessing of divine protection revealed in Psalm 91. This is not an abstract idea or a poetic phrase locked in ancient pages. It is a living truth, a shield for those who choose to take refuge in the Most High. Today, as you listen, you will discover that this protection is not reserved for a distant future. It is for this very moment, for the ground you are walking on, for the air you breathe, for the family you love. The words of this psalm are not simply recited. They are weapons against fear, cures for anxiety, anchors for faith, and declarations that transform the environment around you. Think about it. How many times have you longed for a place of absolute safety, a space where nothing and no one could harm you? The world offers illusions of security, locked doors, alarm systems, insurance policies, but none of them touch the deepest layer of human vulnerability, the soul. Psalm 91 does. It speaks to the part of you that trembles in silence, the part of you that questions if you are truly safe, if your family is truly guarded, if your future is truly in good hands. Listen carefully. In the coming moments, we are not here to discuss theories or entertain religious rituals. We are here to awaken the reality of a God who declares himself to be your refuge and fortress. This is not symbolic language to soothe the mind. It is a declaration of spiritual immunity for those who trust. When you allow these words to enter your spirit, you will feel the difference between fragile human defenses and the unbreakable shield of divine protection. As this introduction unfolds, I want you to picture yourself stepping under that shield. Imagine your home covered by an invisible barrier that no shadow can penetrate. See your children, your spouse, your loved ones, surrounded by a presence that extinguishes fear before it takes shape. This is the atmosphere of Psalm 91. It is not merely about protection from danger. It is about a transformation in how you face the world. You are not left exposed. You are not left vulnerable. You are under the wings of the Almighty, and nothing can reach you there. Let these first words stir something inside you. Let them ignite faith that is stronger than worry, peace that silences the noise of uncertainty, and hope that pushes back against every dark thought. In this moment, you are not a spectator. You are a participant. As you listen, you will be declaring with your very presence, I choose the shelter of the Most High. I choose the shadow of the Almighty as my resting place. This is your starting point. The path that begins here will not only remind you of God's promises, but will also lead you into a deeper experience of them. You will leave not with theory, but with conviction. You will carry not just words, but living truth. And as we move forward, you will see why this psalm has been called the shield of the believer for centuries. It is more than literature. It is life, protection, and blessing unfolding in every line. The call of the invisible. Every day you walk through a world where unseen forces are at work. Some are evident in the chaos of the news, in the stress that tightens the chest, or in the conflicts that seem to arise out of nowhere. Others are subtle, almost imperceptible, like whispers of fear, doubts that creep in at night, or a strange weight pressing on your spirit. The invisible is not imaginary. It is the deeper layer of life, where struggles are fought before they appear in the natural. Psalm 91 speaks directly to this realm, revealing that you are never unguarded, never left alone, never exposed to fight battles without divine help. When you hear the words, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty," you are not reading a poetic comfort. You are entering into a spiritual reality where the invisible is reshaped by God's presence. That shadow is not a metaphor for darkness. It is a covering that shields you from forces you cannot see. It is a space of rest, where you are surrounded by the one who is greater than every hidden threat. The call of the invisible is not a call to fear, but to awareness. that there is more happening around you than your eyes can perceive, and in that unseen dimension, God reigns supreme. Think for a moment about the times when you felt something pressing against you without explanation. Maybe it was a sudden anxiety that made no sense, or a series of setbacks that felt orchestrated, as if life itself were against you. These are not coincidences. They are signs of an invisible resistance, a reminder that life is not only flesh and blood, but also spiritual battle. Yet here is the promise. The invisible does not have the final word. God's unseen hand, stronger than any unseen enemy, stretches over you. His angels, though you may not see them, walk beside you. His presence, though it may feel quiet, is a fortress more solid than the walls of any castle. This truth changes how you face each day. Instead of walking into the unknown with dread, you rise with confidence. Instead of fearing the hidden traps of life, you move knowing that divine eyes go ahead of you, clearing the path and breaking obstacles before they touch your feet. Psalm 91 invites you to shift your perspective, from seeing the invisible as a threat to recognizing it as the arena where God demonstrates His power. What others call chance, you know as providence. What others call misfortune, you see as the testing ground for miracles. The invisible can no longer intimidate you when you understand that it is also the place where God is most active. He is not only present in what you can touch and see. He is alive in the atmosphere of your home, in the silence of your prayers, in the spaces no one else can enter. He is in the hospital room before you arrive, in the workplace before the challenge begins, in the hearts of your children before they face the world. The call of the invisible is an invitation to trust what you cannot see because you know who is there. So hear this clearly. You are not a victim of the unseen. You are under the protection of the unseen God, the one who shapes outcomes, silences enemies, and turns what was meant for harm into a testimony of victory. As you let this truth sink in, the fear of what lurks in the shadows loses its grip. Because above every invisible scheme, there is an invisible shield, and it covers you right now. The refuge the world cannot offer. Every human heart longs for a place of safety, a space where fear cannot invade and uncertainty cannot dominate. We build walls, we secure doors, we design systems of protection, and yet the soul remains restless. No amount of insurance, no lock, no strategy of human strength can silence the deep question, am I truly safe? The world offers substitutes for refuge, temporary reliefs that cover the surface of our fears but never reach the core. They are fragile shelters, easily shaken by a single unexpected storm. But Psalm 91 speaks of a refuge beyond this world, one that no human hand can manufacture and no power can overthrow. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. These words cut through illusions and point to a reality the world cannot replicate. God Himself becomes the refuge, not merely a place but a person, not simply protection, but presence. When you step into this refuge, you are no longer relying on the shaky promises of men or the fragile securities of society. You are standing under the authority of the one who commands creation itself. This is not theory, it is experience. Those who have run to Him know the difference between the false peace of the world and the unshakable peace of the Almighty. Consider how often the world demands your effort to feel safe. You must guard, plan, prepare, and still you remain vulnerable. But in God's refuge, the effort shifts. You are not the one holding the walls together. He holds them for you. You are not the one defending the gates. He stands at the threshold. You are not the one carrying the weight of your security. His strength surrounds you, higher, wider, and deeper than anything you could build. The soul that abides in Him rests because it no longer bears the impossible burden of self-protection. This refuge also redefines where peace is found. The world says peace comes when circumstances align, when threats are removed, when everything appears stable. But God's refuge provides peace in the storm, not just outside of it. It is the assurance that even if the winds roar and the ground trembles, the covering of His presence cannot be breached. This is why the psalmist could write with confidence. He knew that the promise of God's refuge was not dependent on external conditions. It was unmovable, eternal, anchored in divine faithfulness. Think of your own life. How many times have you sought comfort in the temporary and found it dissolving the moment pressure came? How many times have you leaned on people, systems, or possessions only to realize they could not carry the full weight of your fears? This is the human experience, to run after shelters that cannot protect. Yet here lies the turning point. When you abandon those false refuges and embrace the covering of God, you enter a new reality. You are no longer tossed by the waves of instability because your foundation is eternal. The refuge the world cannot offer is not distant or abstract. It is available now, in this very breath, in this very choice. It is the shadow of the Almighty stretching over you. It is the voice of God declaring, "You are safe in me." The invitation is not to escape life, but to face it with a shield that cannot be broken. Once you step into this place, the world loses its power to intimidate, because you carry inside you the certainty that nothing can separate you from the safety of His presence. The power of the spoken word. Words are not empty sounds drifting into the air. They carry weight, authority, and the ability to shape what is unseen into reality. Psalm 91 does not invite you to whisper timid phrases into the silence. It calls you to declare, to speak with conviction, to align your voice with the voice of God Himself. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Notice the choice. I will say. Not just believe quietly, not just think in passing, but proclaim aloud with confidence. The power of the spoken word is that it gives life to faith, anchors conviction in the atmosphere, and breaks the silence that fear tries to impose. When fear rises, silence is often its ally. Left unchallenged, it grows in the shadows of the mind. But when you open your mouth and declare God's truth, you strip fear of its hiding place. Anxiety thrives on unspoken dread, but faith thrives when voiced. Every declaration rooted in Scripture echoes through the spiritual dimension, reminding both angels and enemies that you know where you stand. Words shape environments. They shift the atmosphere of a room, they pierce through heaviness, and they build fortresses in the soul. Consider how Jesus Himself responded when confronted by temptation in the wilderness. He did not stay silent. He spoke. He answered every attack with the living word of God, and in doing so, He dismantled the strategies of the adversary. The same principle is alive for you. When you declare the promises of Psalm 91 aloud, you are not performing a ritual. You are wielding a sword. Each phrase becomes a strike against despair, a shield against lies, a light breaking through the fog of uncertainty. This is why the prayer of protection is not passive. It is active, vibrant, filled with authority. As you say, "The Lord is my refuge," you are not merely reciting. You are commanding your soul to align with truth. You are reminding your spirit of its anchor. You are announcing to the unseen that you belong to the Almighty. Words carry the breath of life or the poison of death, and when they are infused with God's promise, they become a force nothing can withstand. Think of the times when discouragement settled over you like a heavy cloak. A silent mind sinks deeper, but a voice that rises with faith begins to tear the cloak apart. When you speak, you take control back from despair. When you declare, you shift from victim to victor. Even in the smallest whisper, when aligned with divine truth, there is power to shake the unseen. This is why Psalm 91 is not meant to be read only as text. It is meant to be spoken, proclaimed, declared into your life and over your family every single day. The power of the spoken word is also the power of agreement. When you declare God's promises, you are agreeing with heaven against the lies of darkness. You are saying yes to His covering and no to fear's influence. The spiritual world responds to that alignment. Angels are dispatched. Peace enters the room. Strength rises within. All because words were released into the air, echoing with eternal weight. So let your voice rise. Let the words of Psalm 91 become part of your daily rhythm, not as empty repetition, but as living declarations. Speak them until the walls of fear crumble, until the weight lifts, until peace reigns again. This is the unseen strength of the believer, not only to know the truth, but to declare it boldly, until the atmosphere itself shifts to match the promises of God. Wings that heal wounds. There is an image in Psalm 91 that carries a depth many overlook. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. This is not the language of a distant ruler, but the tenderness of a God who bends down to shield his children. The picture of wings is more than protection from an attack. It is the embrace of healing for wounds that life has carved into the heart. Under those wings, scars are touched, pain is soothed, and the restless soul finds calm it has searched for in vain. Think of the times you have walked wounded. Not every injury comes from visible battles. Some cuts are invisible, carried in silence, betrayal, disappointment, loneliness, words spoken against you that linger like poison. These wounds do not bleed outward, yet they ache deeply. Human remedies often fall short. People may comfort, but they cannot remove the sting entirely. Distractions may numb, but they cannot heal. Yet under the wings of the Almighty, something different happens. You are not merely comforted, you are restored. The pain does not remain as an eternal mark. It is touched by divine compassion that transforms it into strength. The wings of God are not passive symbols. They are a sanctuary where the broken are mended. Imagine a child running into the arms of a parent after being hurt. The embrace does not erase what happened, but it changes how the child feels. Fear is replaced with safety. Pain is replaced with reassurance. The world outside may still be chaotic, but within that embrace, the child knows everything will be all right. This is what happens when you step under God's wings. The world does not magically change in that moment, but you do. Wounds lose their power to define you. Fear loses its power to control you. The covering of his wings becomes the place where healing begins. This healing is not only emotional, but spiritual. The wings of the Almighty remind us that he is close enough to feel the weight you carry. He does not remain above, watching from a distance. He draws near, close enough to shield, close enough to hear, close enough to carry your burdens with you. In that closeness, trust grows. And in that trust, healing flows. When you know you are not alone, when you sense his nearness, the deepest wounds begin to close because the soul no longer bleeds in isolation. Picture those wings spreading over your home, stretching over your family, covering every fragile place with divine strength. Under those wings, bitterness gives way to forgiveness, despair gives way to hope, and weariness gives way to renewed energy. The embrace of God is not only for survival, it is for restoration, for lifting the broken until they stand again, for reminding every wounded heart that pain is not the end of the story. So when you feel the weight of past hurts pressing in, when the memory of failures or betrayals threatens to suffocate, remember this: there is a place you can run to, a refuge not built with walls, but with wings. And in that place, the healer waits. His touch does not just cover wounds, it turns them into testimonies of resilience and grace. Under his wings, you are not defined by what hurt you. You are defined by the one who heals you. The silent night and hidden fears. There is a unique weight that comes when the world grows quiet. The noise of the day fades, distractions fall away, and the silence of the night reveals what the heart has been trying to ignore. Thoughts grow louder, worries surface, and fears that seemed small in daylight expand in the darkness. Many know the experience of lying awake, staring at the ceiling, while invisible anxieties press down on the chest. It is here, in these silent hours, that the promises of Psalm 91 strike with powerful relevance. For it declares that even the terror of the night holds no dominion over those who rest under God's shadow. The night often magnifies what we cannot control. It exaggerates the uncertainty of tomorrow, replays the failures of yesterday, and whispers questions about the future that rob peace. In that silence, fear tries to gain authority, convincing the heart that danger lurks just beyond the edge of reason. But the psalmist proclaims a different reality. There is a covering that stretches into the night, a presence that watches while you sleep, a shield that holds even when your eyes are closed. The Most High does not slumber, and under his watch no hidden fear can overthrow you. Think of how many nights have been stolen by restless thoughts, hours spent rehearsing worst-case scenarios that never came to pass. Each of those nights was a battlefield, and yet you endured. Why? Because even when you did not realize it, God's hand was sustaining you. His covering was holding the line against what you could not see. The silent night is not empty. It is filled with divine guardianship. Angels keep watch, promises stand firm, and the unseen fortress of God's presence surrounds you like a wall no darkness can penetrate. But Psalm 91 does not only promise protection, it offers rest. Rest is not simply the absence of activity, it is the soul's surrender into the arms of trust. When you know that God himself is awake, you can close your eyes without fear. When you know his wings stretch over your house, you can release the anxieties of tomorrow. Rest becomes an act of faith, a declaration that you refuse to let fear dictate the rhythm of your night. It is saying with your very sleep, I trust the one who guards me. This changes how you approach the hidden fears that emerge in the dark. Instead of wrestling endlessly with shadows, you can confront them with the light of God's promise. You can remind your heart that no terror, whether real or imagined, can breach the fortress of his care. You can silence the whispers of fear by declaring his word aloud, letting it fill the night with truth that outshines every lie. The silent night becomes no longer a place of torment, but a sanctuary of peace, where God's presence transforms vulnerability into victory. So tonight, when the quiet comes and the world slows down, let Psalm 91 guide you into rest. Do not fear the silence. Step into it with confidence, knowing that hidden fears lose their strength under the gaze of the Almighty. Sleep becomes more than recovery. It becomes communion, a reminder that while you rest, God reigns. And in that reign, the terrors of the night vanish like mist before the morning sun. The strength passed to the family. When the words of Psalm 91 are spoken, they are not confined to the individual who declares them. They extend outward, like ripples in water, reaching the people closest to you. Protection is not meant to be hoarded in isolation. It is designed to cover households, to surround families, to create an atmosphere where every member feels the shield of divine presence. The promise of God's refuge is deeply personal, but it is also profoundly collective. It is strength not just for you, but for those you love. Picture your home as more than brick and wood. See it as a sanctuary where invisible walls rise around every room, walls that no threat can penetrate. When you declare, "The Lord is my refuge and my fortress," you are not only shaping your own future, you are speaking life over your children, your spouse, your parents, everyone under your roof. These words become a covering that blankets the family, turning ordinary days into holy ground. The blessing of Psalm 91 is a legacy you leave behind, a spiritual inheritance that cannot be stolen. Consider the moments when your family faces challenges, sickness that lingers, financial strain, conflict that threatens peace. In those times, human strength often feels insufficient. Parents grow weary, children feel vulnerable, and relationships strain under pressure. But here is the truth. The strength you draw from God flows through you into them. Your faith becomes an anchor for the household. Your prayers become a wall of defense. Your declarations invite God's power to saturate the environment of your home. In this way, one believer can shift the destiny of an entire family. This strength is not loud or forceful. It is steady, like the hand of a father guiding his children across turbulent waters. It is calm, like a mother's embrace that reassures her child everything will be all right. Yet behind that gentleness is unshakable authority, because it is not your strength alone. It is the strength of the Almighty transmitted through you. When your family sees you standing firm, when they hear your words of faith, they learn that fear does not have the final word. They learn that God is greater. Think of the generations that can be transformed when one person decides to dwell in the secret place of the Most High. The promise of Psalm 91 is not bound by time. It reaches into tomorrow, guarding children who have yet to face the world. It creates a shield that surrounds them even when they step outside the walls of your home. Your choice to trust God becomes the foundation on which your family stands. And in moments when they falter, they will remember your declarations, your prayers, your faith, and find strength again. So as you pray this psalm, let it be more than words for yourself. Speak it with your family in mind. Envision them walking through their days wrapped in the same protection you carry. See them guarded at school, at work, on the road, in their friendships, in their struggles. Let your voice become the voice that plants faith in their hearts. And as you do, you will discover that the strength of one believer multiplies into the resilience of an entire household, bound together under the wings of God's unbreakable promise. Spiritual immunity. The world knows about physical immunity, the body's defense system against sickness, but Psalm 91 reveals something greater. Spiritual immunity. This is not about escaping every difficulty, but about walking through life with a shield that prevents hidden forces from destroying your soul. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. These words declare a state of protection that medicine cannot provide and human effort cannot maintain. It is the unseen strength that guards the heart, mind, and spirit against attacks designed to weaken faith and steal peace. Think of how often you face influences that are toxic not to the body, but to the soul. Lies whispered into your thoughts, temptations that appeal to weakness, discouragement that eats away at hope. These are plagues of the unseen world, infections of the spirit that spread silently. Left unchecked, they corrode trust, shatter confidence, and cloud vision. But under God's covering, they lose their power. His word becomes the vaccine against despair, His Spirit the shield against corruption, His presence the antidote to every poisonous voice that rises against you. This immunity does not mean a life without battles. It means a life where battles cannot consume you. Temptations may come, but they will not own you. Fear may knock, but it will not dwell within. Darkness may try to cover, but it cannot extinguish the light that lives in you. Spiritual immunity is God's promise that whatever touches your life cannot destroy you, because His power flows deeper than the schemes of the enemy. Like a flame behind glass, your spirit is untouchable when encased in His presence. Reflect for a moment. How many storms have you already survived? How many situations seemed poised to break you, yet here you stand? That endurance was not random. It was evidence of this immunity at work. Even when you felt weak, grace was sustaining you. Even when you doubted, His covering remained. You may have scars, but they are proof of survival, not defeat. Spiritual immunity does not erase challenges. It transforms them into testimonies of resilience, reminders that you are protected by something greater than what opposes you. This is why the believer can walk through danger with confidence. Others may panic, but you know that the promise of God surrounds you. Others may crumble, but you stand firm because your trust is anchored in the Almighty. Spiritual immunity is not arrogance, it is assurance. Assurance that your life is not at the mercy of chance, but under the intentional care of the one who calls you His own. Assurance that no scheme of darkness can write the ending to your story. Assurance that you are guarded in ways you cannot see, but will one day fully understand. So as you embrace the truth of Psalm 91, see yourself clothed in this immunity. Step into your day with the awareness that unseen walls surround you. Face your challenges with the certainty that they cannot cross the line of God's protection. And when fear tries to invade, declare with confidence, I am covered, I am guarded, I am immune, not because of my strength, but because of His promise. When 1,000 fall around you. There are moments when the world feels like it is collapsing on every side. You hear of losses, crises, and disasters that shake the foundations of entire nations. Friends falter, systems break, and fear spreads like wildfire. It is in these very moments that the words of Psalm 91 resound with fierce clarity. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. These are not empty words of comfort. They are a declaration of resilience, a promise that even when everything around you crumbles, you will remain standing under the protection of the Most High. Think of the imagery. 1,000 fall beside you, 10,000 collapse on the other side, and you are still there, untouched, guarded, preserved. This is not because of your own strength or wisdom. It is because divine covering places a shield around your life. The psalmist does not deny the reality of chaos. He acknowledges it fully. Disaster is real, suffering is real, collapse happens. Yet he also proclaims that the fate of the many does not dictate the destiny of the one who abides in God's presence. Protection is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of God in the middle of it. This promise transforms how you interpret crisis. Where others see hopelessness, you see opportunity for faith to prove unshakable. Where others see evidence of defeat, you see testimony in the making. The world measures safety by numbers, believing that if the masses fall, none can stand. But faith measures safety by presence. If God is with you, you can endure what destroys others. This is not superiority. It is surrender. It is the choice to let God's strength define you when human strength fails. Reflect on your own life. How many times did you watch others lose hope, yet something inside you kept pushing forward? How many times did you stand when, by all logic, you should have collapsed? Those were not accidents. They were fulfillments of this very promise. The thousands may represent collective fear, shared defeat, widespread despair, but you stand as proof that God still preserves those who trust in Him. You are not defined by the fall of the many. You are defined by the faithfulness of the one. This truth is not meant to isolate you, but to inspire you. When others fall, you do not boast in your survival. You extend your hand. You become a living testimony of hope, a reminder that safety is found not in numbers, but in God. Your resilience becomes an invitation for others to seek the same refuge. In this way, the verse is not only about personal preservation, but also about collective transformation. One life preserved can spark faith in countless others. So when you look around and see 1,000 falling, let it not fuel fear, but strengthen resolve. Let it remind you that you are covered, not by chance, but by covenant. And when you face moments where everything seems to collapse, stand tall with this declaration: though 10,000 may fall, I will stand in the shadow of the Almighty. For His hand holds me firm, and His presence keeps me unshaken. The presence of angels. Psalm 91 does not only speak of God's covering, it unveils another profound reality, the presence of angels. For He will command His angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is a revelation of an unseen army assigned to your protection. Angels are not abstract beings hovering in distant realms. They are messengers, guardians, and warriors moving at God's command to shield those who trust in Him. While you walk through life unaware of countless dangers, they intervene, redirect, and preserve your path. Imagine the countless moments when disaster could have struck but didn't. The accident that nearly happened yet somehow was avoided. The sudden impression that kept you from taking the wrong step. The inexplicable peace that steadied you in crisis. These may have been encounters with angelic presence. The human eye cannot measure how many times you have been spared, but heaven records it. For every unseen threat, there is an unseen defense. Angels are the living evidence of God's intimate care, dispatched not randomly, but by direct command to guard your ways. This promise reshapes how you walk through your days. You are not moving alone. Every step is accompanied, every road is watched, every moment is under surveillance of heaven's guardianship. When the world sees coincidence, faith sees orchestration. When the skeptic sees luck, the believer sees angels on assignment. This truth dismantles fear because it shifts your perspective. You are not vulnerable prey in a hostile world. You are a child of God surrounded by His chosen protectors. Consider the story of Elisha when his servant panicked at the sight of enemies surrounding the city. Elisha prayed, and suddenly the young man's eyes were opened. What he saw changed everything. The hills full of horses and chariots of fire, an army of heaven ready for battle. The danger was real, but the greater truth was that divine forces outnumbered and outpowered every enemy. This is the same reality Psalm 91 proclaims for you. Enemies may rise, challenges may come, but you are never outnumbered, never abandoned. never left exposed. The presence of angels also teaches humility. Their protection is not earned by human merit, but granted by God's grace. They move not at your command, but at His. And yet, because He loves you, because you belong to Him, He issues the order: guard this one, protect this family, stand watch over this life. That is the value He places on you. That is the security He provides. So walk through your day with new awareness. When you rise in the morning, know that unseen sentinels stand at your side. When you face uncertainty, remember that your steps are guarded by hands you cannot see. When fear whispers that you are alone, declare the truth. Angels surround me, dispatched by the command of my God. Let this awareness give you courage, peace, and boldness. For the presence of angels is not a distant legend. It is a present reality, alive and active in every path you take. The name that breaks chains. Psalm 91 carries within it a truth often overlooked: the power of the name of the Lord. Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. The name is not a title. It is authority, identity, power condensed into words that the spiritual realm recognizes and obeys. When you call on His name, you are not invoking a concept, but releasing a force that dismantles chains, silences enemies, and shifts the atmosphere. Throughout Scripture, the name of the Lord is portrayed as a strong tower, a place of safety for those who run to it. It is not a tower built of stone, but of authority. When the believer declares that name, fear loses its grip, oppression loses its ground, and despair loses its voice. Chains, whether they are chains of addiction, chains of guilt, or chains of anxiety, cannot endure under its weight. The enemy may resist your strength, but he cannot resist the authority of the name above every name. Think of how often you have spoken words that seemed powerless against your challenges, but the moment you align your words with His name, everything changes. You are no longer speaking as one individual trying to push back darkness. You are speaking with the backing of heaven itself. The name of the Lord is recognized in the unseen world. Angels move when it is declared. Enemies retreat when it is lifted. The atmosphere bends under its authority. This is not about ritualistic repetition. It is about faith. Faith that acknowledges the character, the power, and the covenant tied to His name. When you speak it with belief, you are not begging for rescue. You are standing in victory, already secured. This is why chains break, because His name is not an echo of the past, but a living authority, active today. Picture the chains in your own life. Fear that limits your steps, shame that silences your voice, doubts that weaken your resolve. See them snapping one by one as you lift the name of the Lord above them. See the walls that confined you collapsing as His authority fills the space. Feel the weight lifting from your spirit as His presence surrounds you. The name that breaks chains is not far away. It is on your lips, ready to be declared, ready to shift your reality. So when opposition rises, do not stay silent. When heaviness presses, do not surrender. Call on His name with confidence and watch the unseen respond. Declare it over your family, over your home, over your future. Let it echo until fear flees and freedom reigns. For the promise of Psalm 91 is not only that you are guarded, but that the very name of your God is your shield, your tower, your weapon, and your victory. A shield for every day. The final words of Psalm 91 do not leave the believer with vague comfort. They close with a thunderous certainty. God Himself promises to rescue, protect, answer, deliver, and honor the one who trusts in Him. This is more than poetry. It is covenant, and this covenant is not reserved for extraordinary occasions. It is for every day. Each sunrise you witness is another opportunity to walk beneath the covering of the Almighty, to carry His shield into the ordinary moments that shape your life. A shield for every day means that protection is not seasonal, not limited to times of crisis, but woven into the fabric of daily living. It is there when you step into work, when you guide your children, when you face uncertainty about the future. It is there in the quiet moments of solitude and in the noisy demands of responsibility. Every breath is guarded, every step is watched, every choice is accompanied by the presence of the one who does not abandon his own. This shield is not fragile. It is unbreakable, forged in divine faithfulness. Human promises may falter, systems may collapse, but his word remains. When he says no evil shall befall you, he is not speaking of a possibility, but of a certainty anchored in his authority. Life may bring battles, but battles cannot erase covenant. Struggles may come, but struggles cannot shatter the shield of the Almighty. The believer walks in a paradox, surrounded by challenges yet untouchable at the core, because God himself is the protector. Consider how this changes the way you live. Fear loses its daily grip when you remember the shield that covers you. Anxiety loses its voice when you recall that angels have been commanded concerning you. Doubt loses its power when you declare the name that breaks chains. You move from surviving each day to living each day with confidence, courage, and peace. The shield is not only defense, it is empowerment. It gives you strength to stand firm, to love boldly, to serve faithfully, to live fully. The conclusion of Psalm 91 is not an ending, but a new beginning. It is the call to step out tomorrow, knowing that you are never uncovered. The shadows of life may loom, but you abide in a greater shadow, the shadow of the Almighty. The threats of the world may roar, but you rest in the fortress of his presence. The weight of the unknown may press, but you walk with certainty that your shield is eternal. So take this with you. You are covered, you are guarded, you are held. The shield of God is not a promise for someone else, not a hope for someday. It is yours today, tomorrow, and every day after. Let that truth sink deep into your heart and ignite faith that does not falter. Walk forward clothed in this reality, and let the world see through your life the testimony of one who is unshaken, unafraid, and unbreakable under the covering of the Almighty.